Hi, hello, and welcome. I am not dead. I am here. I am back. I am returning. This is my official return video. Hello. Oh god, it has been rough, to say the least. I I wanted to make this video mostly for me, just as the hi, I'm starting, I'm coming back, I am doing this to push me to actually make the videos, not just kind of sit here with ideas and do nothing with them. I need to give myself a push, and that's what this is. So, for anyone who does decide to watch, thank you, but you really don't have to for this one. It's been a year since I've streamed, since I've recorded, since I've done anything, and I want to kind of just use this as a proper mark in my life to be like, this is the time things truly move forward. Because this last year and a half, it's been a year since I've recorded and streamed, but this last year and a half before I stopped was when shit really hit the fan. We're gonna jump back to the first true domino, the one that started it all. And that was when me and my ex officially ended our long-standing relationship. It was like a 3-4 year relationship, and while it didn't hit that hard emotionally, because we were both kind of distant for that last year of it, it really hit when I had just gotten a new job, like a week after we ended things, and we were still living in the same place, so I needed the time to finish the contract that I had literally just signed, the job I had literally just started, finish that, and then I would be out in a couple months. But that wasn't good enough for her, so when she ended up finding someone to actually fill in the room that I was taking up at the time, I was promptly kicked out, had to stay in a hotel, had to ship my stuff to my foster dad's early. In case you didn't know, I grew up in foster care, not the point here. So I had to ship a lot of my stuff early, and I spent an entire month in a hotel working and doing what I had to just to make money and survive. So that was all fine and dandy, right? Living out of a suitcase in a hotel, can't really cook, gotta make only microwave food, so you're kind of just bottom of the barrel with all of that. Fast forward that month, I met a couple of nice people at work, I'll get back to them later. But fast forward the month, I then move an hour away from where I was, back home with my foster family and everything else, but because I had to go back to my foster family, I had to pay rent. Now, before getting the job that I just had, the 2-month contract, I wasn't the one paying rent. Not completely, at least. I had a terrible part-time job that was barely even able to cover half of rent, so I couldn't do much. So I'm struggling, needless to say. I got a little bit of money saved up from the job because that other contract was actually really good pay, but that doesn't mean that I was well off. I was struggling to find another job to make sure I can make January's rent completely, and as I was trying to do that, thankfully my grandmother at the time, who would have taken me in if she had the space, so helped me out to pay rent for January. Partway through January, literally on one of my Marvel Rivals streams, I got a call from the job saying, hey, would you like to be a team lead, a manager basically? And I'm like, hell yeah, give me the job, get me going. I just want some training first. I'm like, okay, cool. For the last 2 weeks of January, we're going to send you out to Calgary. You're going to train underneath the boss that you had at the other job. This is literally halfway across the country for me, right? I'm Canadian. I'm from Ontario. I go halfway across the country to work, and that is a very important part of this, to get trained to be a team lead for 2 weeks and then go back to Ontario into a different city that I'm still not living in, just staying at a Airbnb that the company pays for. Stay there while I lead a team for a couple of months, and then we'll see what happens from there. Get to Calgary, working the 2 weeks, learning what I can, but living off of a couple $100s I got in cash because I don't have any money in my bank account. The couple $100s in cash was thanks to my grandmother. I owe her so much from that time. But I need to make like $200 last a month, because even though you get paid bi-weekly, you need to work for a month before you get paid for the first one. So I need to make like $200 last a whole month in 2 different cities. It was, needless to say, a stressful mess. That in of itself would cause a lot of people a lot of stress. But because it was the last 2 weeks of January, I had no money in my account, and the handshake agreement I made with my foster family was falling apart because I'm like, I can't pay February rent on the 1st. You need to give me 2 weeks so that I can pay you. They were not having it. So they kicked me out while I was still in Calgary. They kicked me out completely. I was then homeless, halfway across the country. Thankfully I was working, so I was able to like make some money and do everything else, but this contract wasn't long enough for me to save anything significant, and I lost all of my stuff, right? I have half a suitcase filled with clothes and a backpack with like a Nintendo Switch and a tablet so that I had a little bit of entertainment for myself. So all of that, I'm barely able to survive. No way of like really getting to and from work properly and sustainably, with barely any money to eat, while learning a new job. By the way, I'm a team lead of a bunch of people who have all worked for this company longer than me. Like every single one of them has multiple years of experience, while this is like my 3rd month with the company. I'm sorry, my thoughts are all over the place. I'm trying to remember this from a year ago. Anyway, yeah, no sustainable way to get to work, no sustainable, like, food. The stress of leading a team that all has more experience than me, and I need to, like, act like I know what I'm doing. Losing everything that I own, it's gonna sound petty when I say, like, my plushie collection, and my manga, my dice for D&D, but like a lot of that still has sentimental value, and like it was still my stuff. Now I was given an option to get it all back, but like it was unreasonable with how it was, because I would have to pay for February rent, pay for March rent. I was working until like end of March, early April, so I had to pay for 2 months rent plus however many other days I left the stuff there. At that point, once I heard all of that, I literally, keep in mind, I am not religious. The only god I truly believe in is Arceus, and that's a Pokemon. But I got all that information right before I am going onto a flight to travel halfway across the country, so I just did a simple sign of the cross and said goodbye. I'm going to dive deeper a little bit into my mode of transportation, because I was given some money through Uber, which I used some of that for groceries, even though it was supposed to be for like the early transportation from the airport to the Airbnb, and like for a couple days from the Airbnb to work. But I didn't have any money, so I used some of that for groceries through Uber Eats, just to be like, hey, give me some food. But that resulted in the fact that I was still 2 weeks out from being paid. I didn't know how much food I actually got because I'm not at the grocery store. I'm ordering it online. And I don't know how much Uber will be from the Airbnb to the Walmart I'm working at. So I get the food, I take the couple of trips, and then come the next week, I'm like, I don't have any more money. I barely have any food. So for like 3 or 4 days, I have to walk. Now, walking doesn't seem too bad when you're like, oh, what is it, like an hour and a half walk away? Because I've done hour and a half walks regularly, and they were fine. But this wasn't that. This was a 3-hour walk to work. So I am literally surviving off of 1 ramen pack for breakfast, 1 ramen pack for dinner, 2 granola bars shoved in my backpack for a lunch, while I walk 3 hours to work 8 hours, and then walk another 3 hours back. And because I am now a team lead, when I get back to the house, I need to send an email by a certain time of what got done, what still needs to be done, what the plan is for the next day, all while I'm still learning how to do that. learning the correct terminology that they like to use and that they want to use in these emails, learning what I'm even doing on the job, everything else. I'm like, this is unsustainable, let alone the fact that this is a night shift. The whole job is you go into Walmart at night when it's closed to renovate like the shelves and stuff like that. So I'm doing this all in the beginning of February, the coldest month of the year in Canada, where there's a lot of snow. I am trudging through snowbanks along a highway. The fact that I'm still alive just from that is incredible, let alone the fact that I even had the willpower to go through with that. With losing everything, I needed something to distract myself, or else I wouldn't be here today. So I just went through. Thankfully, one of the people who trained me in Calgary lived close by, farther than the Airbnb was to work, so it's not like I got to go stay with them while I was working. But they lived close enough by that once I was done the whole job, once everything was done, they let me sleep on their couch and just crash on their couch rent-free for a little bit just to help me get back on my feet. If it wasn't for them, I don't know what would have happened. That's really where the dominoes kind of stopped falling, right? Everything kind of plateaued. Obviously the stress of everything that was happening while I was working caused me to implode a couple times at work, which is probably why I've never gotten a call back from the job and why I have been essentially fired, but never told I was fired, which, like, loophole on my resume, but that's it. That's all I can say good came out of that. But the other thing is, through all of that, and what truly stopped any more dominoes from falling, and who knows what would have happened if they didn't show up, but I met someone that quite literally saved my life. And they were able to have a plan. They weren't as well off, right? They weren't like super well off when I met them. Everything else, we struggled together for this last year. We literally met 13 months ago, maybe 14 months ago, but we moved in together pretty early on because we were both struggling. They had a place, I didn't, so I moved in with them, and ever since then, things kind of plateaued. I wasn't able to find a job. They had just lost their job, but for the most part we were able to have stable enough living. I say knowing that we spent like 2 months in a trailer and moved into a house that was mold and roach infested with a meth pipe on the balcony, and our landlord, I put that in air quotes because they weren't the actual landlord of the apartment, they were just the renter of that one singular apartment room, was 100% a prostitute. So that was a terrible situation, but we got out of there quickly. We were able to find stable enough living, and my partner had a plan that has finally taken effect and has put us in a very nice basement apartment. It's not the best, but it is so much better than anywhere we've been living in the last year. And we're rebuilding. They were able to come into a little bit of money, not enough to go crazy, but they let me come back to YouTube. They let me come back to streaming. And while I won't be streaming for a little bit, I will at least be trying my best to record videos for you guys and just kind of have fun with this while looking for a job, while doing normal life things. But yeah, that's kind of where I've been for the past year, struggling to say the least, but I am back. I just want to thank all of you, all of my friends who have stuck with me. There isn't many of you, but you know exactly who you are, sticking with me through all of this and helping me get back on my feet. I appreciate every single one of you more than you know. I love you all from the bottom of my heart. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this video up here. I don't want to keep yapping because I'm going to end the video here. Thank you all so much for watching this. Till we meet again.